I took a long road trip around the United States in my 20s, and I'm kind of thinking of doing it again, just for like a couple of months, for that exact purpose. And you can get these stories when you go to like a bar in the middle of nowhere and just sit and talk to people, and they start sharing. And it reminds you of like how beautiful the country is. It reminds you of several things. One, that it shows you that there's a lot of different accents. That's for one. Uh, but aside from that, the people are struggling with all the same stuff.
Yeah.
And at least at that time, I wonder what it is now. But at that time, I don't remember. On the surface, there's like political divisions. There's Republicans and Democrats and so on. But like underneath it, there people were all the same. The concerns were all the same. There's not that much of a division. Right now, the surface division has been amplified even more, maybe because of social media. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So I would love to see what the country is like now, but I suspect probably it's still not as divided as it appears to be on the surface, what the media shows, what the social media shows. But what did you experience in terms of the division?
I think a couple reactions to what you just said. I think the first is when you connect with people like that, you are so inspired by their courage, in the face of adversity and their resilience. And it's like a truly remarkable experience for me. The campaign lifted me out of a bubble I didn't even know I was in. I grew up on the Upper East Side of New York, and I felt like I was well-traveled and well-educated. And I believed at the time that I'd been exposed to divergent viewpoints. And I realized during the campaign how limited my exposure had been relative to what it was becoming. So there was a lot of growth in that as well. But I do think, you think about the vitriol in politics and, whether it's worse than it's been in the past or not. I think that's up for debate. I think, there have been duels and there's been
Right.
screaming, and there's, politics has always been a blood sport, and it's always been incredibly vicious. I think in the toxic swirl of social media, it's more amplified, and there's more sort of democratization around participating in it, perhaps. And it seems like the voices are louder, but it feels like it's always been that. But I don't believe most people are like that. And you meet people along the way, and they're not leading with what their politics are. They're telling you about their hopes for themselves and their communities. And it makes you feel that we are a whole lot less divided than, the media and others would have us believe.
Although I have to say, having duels sounds pretty cool. Maybe I just romanticize Westerns. Anyway, all right. I miss Clint Eastwood movies. Okay. But it's true. Like you read some of the stuff, like in terms of what politics used to be in the history of the United States, those folks went pretty rough, like way rougher actually. But they didn't have social media, so they had to go like real hard. And the media was rough too. So all like the fake news, all of that's not recent. it's been nonstop. I look at the surface division, the surface bickering, and that might be like just a feature of democracy. It's not a bug of democracy. It's a feature. We're in a constant conflict, and it's the way we try to figure out the right way forward. So in the moment, it feels like people are just tearing each other apart, but really we're trying to find the way where, like, in the long arc of history, it will look like progress. But in the short term, it just sounds like people making stories up about each other and calling each other names and all this kind of stuff. But there's a purpose to it. I mean, that's what freedom looks like, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, and it's better than the alternative.
Well, I think that the vast majority of people aren't participating in it.
Sure. Yes, that's true also.
I think there's a minority of people that are doing most of the yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
And the majority of Americans just want to send their kid to a great school and want their communities to thrive. And want to be able to realize their dreams and aspirations. So I saw a lot more of that than it would feel obvious if you looked at like a Twitter feed,